Colonel Harris smirked as he leaned over the briefing table, voice dripping with condescension. "You really think you belong here, Lieutenant?" he asked, loud enough for the room to hear, his eyes gleaming with the arrogance of someone who believed rank equaled wisdom. Around him, a few officers chuckled, unsure whether to join in or keep silent. She didn't respond. Not yet. She only let her hands rest calmly on the polished wood, her breathing steady, her mind calculating. Inside, a storm of restraint roared, a storm he could not see. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you were watching from. I love knowing who's listening." Her name was Commander Selene Armitage, though most of the base only knew her as the newest senior officer assigned to oversee tactical coordination. To those who underestimated her, she appeared quiet, composed, almost fragile. But appearances, she had learned, were often the most dangerous illusion. Colonel Harris continued, mocking her at every opportunity. Each word was a deliberate jab, meant to undermine, to provoke. "Your strategies are untested," he said. "Perhaps someone else should handle this mission." Someone competent. Selena's eyes flicked to the map on the wall, tracing the operational lines with deliberate calm. The soft hum of the air conditioning, the distant clatter of boots on polished floors, even the faint scent of dust from the blinds—all of it sharpened her awareness. She could feel the tension of the room like a coiled wire ready to snap. He thought he controlled the narrative. He thought he had the upper hand. He was wrong. She remembered every time someone had underestimated her, the sneers, the dismissive comments, the subtle disbelief in her abilities. She had survived worse. She had outmaneuvered worse. And today, she would remind them, without anger, without spectacle, that experience, strategy, and calm precision carried more weight than loud bravado. Harris leaned closer, as if proximity could mask his insecurities. "Do you even understand the implications of your plan?" he demanded, tapping the map with a polished finger. One wrong move, and Selene raised a hand, a simple gesture that froze the room. Silence fell immediately. Every eye turned toward her. Even the colonel hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his expression. "Colonel," she said softly, each word deliberate, weighted, "I understand more than you realize." The room exhaled as one. Whispers rustled along the walls, officers glancing at one another, sensing that a line had been crossed. Not by Selene, but by Harris, by his arrogance, his assumption that rank alone equated knowledge. She thought she'd never see him again after his last humiliating outburst. She was wrong. He had returned confident, smug, certain of victory. But this time she was prepared. Selene walked slowly to the center of the room, steps measured, commanding attention without raising her voice. Her presence was subtle but undeniable, a quiet gravity that drew respect even from those too timid to confront him. The hum of fluorescent lights above and the faint scraping of chairs under polished floors became the stage for what would unfold. Harris's smirk faltered slightly. There was something in her gaze, a precision, a depth, a weight of authority he had never anticipated. "You seem to forget your own experience, Colonel," she continued, voice soft but carrying through the room. "Perhaps you should review the chain of command before questioning those tasked with leadership. Beyond your current scope." A pause. The words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time Harris felt the room's atmosphere shift beneath him. Officers whispered, the tension stretching tight like a wire. Every subtle movement, every flicker of light on polished wood, amplified the suspense.
Ow.
Then, in a movement so fluid it seemed choreographed, Selene outlined the operational plan in a series of precise, decisive steps. Each point highlighted flaws in Harris's assumptions. Each countermeasure addressed the hypothetical failures he had tried to exploit. It wasn't confrontation, it was revelation. The colonel opened his mouth, perhaps to argue, perhaps to deflect. But Selena's eyes met his, calm and unwavering. In that moment, silence became more powerful than any insult or command. She didn't need to shout, to demean, or to strike back physically. Her authority was manifest in clarity, precision, and the quiet confidence of someone who had been tested in the harshest crucibles and emerged unbroken. The officers leaned in, murmurs growing into soft acknowledgments of respect. Even Harris felt the shift, a subtle, undeniable acknowledgement that he had underestimated someone light years ahead in experience and capability. Finally, Selene took a deep breath and concluded, Colonel, your concerns are noted. But this mission, as outlined, will proceed under my command, and I assure you it will succeed. A ripple of whispered respect passed through the room. Officers shifted, some nodding subtly, others holding their silence but exchanging glances that said what words could not. Strength does not require shouting. Experience cannot be feigned. Authority is not a title, it is demonstrated, not demanded. Harris's face flushed slightly, a mixture of embarrassment and reluctant acknowledgement. He had learned, perhaps too late, that true leadership transcends ego, that skill and experience far outweigh bravado and arrogance. Selene returned to her seat, posture composed, breathing steady. The room, once tense, now hummed with the quiet rhythm of understanding. The colonel, humbled though still present, nodded in a gesture that spoke volumes. He had been challenged not by malice, but by undeniable competence. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And as Selene gazed at the map one last time, she realized something quietly profound, even in the shadow of arrogance and repeated taunts. Dignity, expertise, and calm resolve always leave their mark. The colonel's smirks could no longer obscure the truth. She had always been far beyond him in more ways than he could ever measure. If this story inspired you, comment where you're watching from, subscribe to Whispered Words, and share the story with someone who needs to be reminded that quiet strength often speaks the loudest.